How's it going, Twitch? My name is Skull, and on behalf of East Asia Soft, welcome to today's stream. Maybe one of these days this microphone will be exactly where I want it at the beginning of the stream, but that day is not this day. Today, I am continuing Without a Voice, out now on PC and consoles, and I have a cheat sheet because I want a good ending. And wouldn't you know it, getting a good ending in this game is actually kind of hard. They actually made a guide on how to get the good endings and the various bad endings. I'm not going to... I guess we'll see what today brings. Excuse me. Whatever's in my throat, if you could get out, that'd be great. I am going to go for at least one good ending, maybe two, but I'm not going to tell you guys how to do it. I will go ahead and talk about the variables. There's three main variables to think about, and I did not understand this when I played this game 2 days ago, so now that I read this, this makes more sense. The variables. 1. Knowledge. Knowledge is a double-edged sword. Remaining naive will only lead to our pair's doom, but learning too much too soon can lead to suspicion and paranoia. Knowledge represents how much of the truth Cassidy has figured out about Elowen. Maintaining this balance is crucial for the good endings. Factor number 2. Delusion. How long can a delusion keep you alive? Delusion represents Cassidy's faith in her brother and the strength of the lie that she's created for herself to keep her sanity. Too much delusion will lead to tragedy, but a moderate amount will open the door for one of the happy endings. 3. Understanding. Without understanding, how can there be love? Understanding represents Cassidy's kindness towards Elowen and how much she understands her personality and feelings. A requirement for both good endings, it forms the foundation of their relationship. Early understanding is the key to a more romantic path. With that in mind, I am going to start a fresh playthrough. The choices that you make throughout this game determine the ending. There are not branches.
When cold, cruel destiny has thee within her grasp, thou may endeavor bravely, dear, to change thy path. But fate cares not which twisted road you choose to take. Your dance atop her palm, with airy choice you make.
I don't remember this on Tuesday. Day 1. I don't remember that. Does this game give you a completely different... There's no way it's completely different after you beat it once, right? Like, it has to be the same, I just don't remember. It was a morning like any other. The tragedy soon to unfold would affect so few people that time would swiftly forget it. For those involved, however, that morning was a maelstrom, drawing them each in, closer and closer still. It all began innocently enough, with a certain exiled princess in a terrible predicament.
Oh dear, run out of firewood.
Why do we suddenly have some voice acting, but we didn't on Tuesday?
Only I'd noticed yesterday. This has caught me quite unawares.
The ex-princess in question was named Cassidy, and she was the eldest child of the Kingdom of Varamir. What's that, you say? You've never heard of Varamir? One shouldn't be surprised. This all happened long before the universe summoned you into existence.
The next shipment isn't due for a little while yet. But I cannot wait. I won't be able to cook or do laundry without a fire.
Why is it suddenly voice acted? What did I change between then and now? So long had the princess had been living in this cottage alone that she'd taken to talking to herself just to feel less lonely. Determined to gather some wood before sundown, Cassidy grabbed a hatchet and some linen and then quitted the place. Give me a second here. It's still on version 1.000.000, so it's not like it installed a patch Yeah, it hasn't updated since the last. So what in the world? Why do I suddenly have voices? What changed? Who knows? Once outside, she paused, considering for the umpteenth time whether it would be best for her to lock the door.
No one will come in anyway. My brother's agents never enter. No one else travels this deep into the wood.
Convincing herself, Cassidy turned away and headed into the forest to begin her mission. Hi, Death Reeker. How you doing? Welcome to the stream. Unfortunately, her determination and willpower were short-lived.
As I thought. Firewood isn't just lying on the ground just waiting to be picked up.
Though she'd brought the hatchet, she'd foolishly hoped that she wouldn't have to use it. Doing great, thanks. Enjoying this game. Going for a good ending today. Faced with so many different types of trees, most of them quite large, she was unsure how to proceed. Now that I think about it, how much firewood do I usually use at once? Oh, the more I try to remember, the more addled I get. Perhaps I'll just subsist on fruits and fungus until the next crate arrives. A timely stomach growl quickly put a stop to such plans. Cassidy let out a sigh.
For now, then, I shall return to my favorite place. It always brings me peace. That place holds some magic I've always felt. I'm sure I shall be able to think of something once I'm there.
Can I change the sound settings to bump up the voices? Why is it all the way down? My goodness. Okay. Weird. Her spirit restored, Cassidy hefted her linen satchel a little higher. It was not long until she would be comfortable again, she thought.
Why, you're as radiant as ever.
I did change the sound settings, right? I'm going to boost it all the way up to full. Hi, Andrea. I'm going for the good ending today. There were many views to take pleasure in this forest, but this one in particular always brought her delight. Though she had lived here now for some seasons, the tree before her seemed never to change.
I don't know much about wisteria. Are they meant to stay in bloom year-round? Perhaps the winters here are mild. Wisteria shall wither not when flakes of winter fall. Wisteria shall wither not when flakes of winter fall.
Yet all must someday perish while heeding nature's call.
But nature wields not power or us all.
I don't know why it's suddenly fully voice acted. What changed? All we had last week was like 2 lines total from Elowen, and that was it. I don't know what changed. A clear wind chime voice caught Cassidy's attention. Cassidy's heart stuck in her throat as she followed the sound and caught sight of the woman sitting there. She had never before seen a woman so breathtakingly beautiful.
My apologies for interrupting your poem, madam.
It was only a couplet. You did not interrupt so much as improve it.
Oh? Then all the better. But it is not safe to be so deep in the wood. Tarry not.
I like it better with the voice acting, for the record. Means I get to save my water, which is good because it's over 100 degrees outside. The heat index right now is 111. No, 112. So, yeah.
I live here. It is quite safe, I assure you.
I dare say I have lived here much longer than you have.
No harm has ever come to me in these woods. Perhaps our experiences merely differ.
Certainly. I concede your point.
Cassidy paused a long while, unsure of how to carry on the conversation. How strange. I used to make small talk with all the courtiers as if it were nothing. Has time truly affected me so?
You say you live here?
I do.
I have never seen you. I'm quite sure of it. I would remember someone like you. Whereabouts do you live? If you don't mind my asking.
Hardly a stone's throw from where we now stand.
I bumped the voice volume as high as it'll go, so. I suppose she does not wish to expose where she lives to an utter stranger. That is reasonable. She seems to be quite on her guard.
I envy your view of this lovely place.
Do not envy me.
What could that mean? How droll.
Oh, where are my manners? My name is Cassidy. I, too, live nearby.
You may call me Elowen.
Elowen.
What a lovely name.
Besides, I was already aware that you live nearby.
What? How?
I have seen you before, albeit from a distance. You come here often.
Oh dear. I must have been making a complete fool of myself. I am sorry that you've had to witness that.
Cassidy thought back to all the complaining she'd done under this tree, and all the time she'd sullied herself trying to gather fruit. There were many other truly mortifying memories. She stared at the ground in shame. When she looked up, however, Elowen was smiling. Cassidy felt her tension wane.
So what brings you back to this place?
I wanted to calm myself.
Calm yourself? What for? What could possibly cause you distress?
What a sour tone. Does she think I just daydream and laze about all day?
Many things. I'll have you know that at this very minute, I am on a mission that might mean the difference between life and death.
Oh, and yet you dally here. What could this mission involve, pray tell?
I see my presence is not wanted here. I shall return to my search forthwith.
Just as she was about to turn away and leave, Elowen and the wisteria tree behind, Cassidy heard Elowen laugh softly. It was a bewitching sound.
I see I have offended milady. No offense was meant, I can assure.
Really?
Truly, I would never wish to cause you pain. Tell me of your mission.
I have run out of firewood.
Life and death, folks. Upon hearing this, Elowen stood up and dusted herself off.
Allow me to be of service.
Oh no, I couldn't possibly impose.
Please. This tree suffers so much every time you shed your tears in frustration upon it.
Yet, despite her abrasive words, Elowen was tirelessly helpful. It was she who taught Cassidy to gather smaller bits of kindling and to use the hatchet when that proved insufficient.
If you rub these smaller branches together, they shall burn just fine.
I see. Oh, I am certainly glad not to have to chop down a whole tree.
Yes. Once felled, a tree can never rise again.
Might have pushed my continue button accidentally there. Sorry, folks.
Take of them their fruit, their branches, but spare them their roots and lifeblood.
Lifeblood?
Do trees have blood?
This forest is quite old, you know. I wish it would stay forever this way. But man has trouble leaving things be.
The disparity between Elowen's indifferent expression and the biting tone of her voice made Cassidy's heart ache.
We humans are meddlesome things, aren't we?
Perhaps I'm making too light of her feelings. I thought that was a rather intelligent thing to say.
You truly love this forest.
Yes. In fact, I feel that I am part of it, and it is part of me.
How beautiful. The two continued through the forest, gathering wood and passing the time with easy conversation. As they walked leisurely, the sun began to sink. So, too, did the satchel of wood over Cassidy's shoulder sag.
It seems that you've gathered plenty of wood now. Surely that will be enough?
You're right.
The time had quite gotten away from the exiled princess. Now that their afternoon together was coming to an end, Cassidy was afraid. Afraid and hopeful, which was perhaps more dangerous still.
Then,
Excuse me, Miss Elowen?
yes.
Might I... That is, might we meet again? You've no idea how happy I am to meet another person living in this wood. And a woman at that.
Yet the expression on Elowen's face showed that she had, in fact, some idea.
I was about to suggest the same. You might find me in this area most afternoons.
I see. Then, until tomorrow.
Would that we meet so soon, my lady.
With that, Elowen bowed and left. Her steps make almost no sound. What a graceful woman. Not just beautiful, but elegant and smart. As she walked back to her cottage, so filled with thoughts of Elowen was her head, that Cassidy forgot all about her fatigue and the weight of her burden. She certainly is opinionated, but she must have so much more experience living independently than I.
I hope I am not a bother to her.
And with that, the once princess returned home, blissfully unaware of the roots that were this very moment grabbing hold of her heels and pulling her beneath.
It is said a fool repeats his days, changing not but expecting change. I posit these men are by routine hogtied. They expect not, and are by not satisfied.
Dude, this is a way different experience when it's fully voice acted like this. Holy cow. I wonder if that's intentional, because the name of the game is Without a Voice, so I wonder if you have to play through it once before they gain their voices. Either that or it's a glitch. You know, either or. There's a sort of melancholy one feels when closing a book for the final time, feeling its last words wash over you as you leave its world and return to your own life. It was an ennui that Cassidy had grown used to. I remember that emotion from Inside Out too. In her former life, she had received the best education that money and bribery might buy. Now, that bright mind was left to languish, fed by nothing more than a single new book each fortnight. By now, Cassidy was in the habit of reading very slowly indeed. She shut her latest tome and placed it upon the table next to her half-written letter to her brother.
I never sound quite myself in these letters. How do you write from a distance to one whom you once saw daily? And how do you write anything at all when your life has grown so dull?
She decided to pen a few more sentences on how moved she felt after reading the book and how profoundly distressed she was by the ending of it. Family is important, but so too is recognizing the value of what you have before it is too late. If only the king had realized what a wonderful daughter he had. And I hope that you realize how much you are loved by me, your one and only sister. She paused, overcome by sheer feeling, and decided to keep that final bit to herself. It was too desperate for comfort, and princesses did not whinge so.
No, that won't do at all. How unbecoming.
With a sigh, Cassidy stared at the crackling fire. She had more than enough firewood now to last until her next shipment of it. The sight reminded her of Elowen.
I wonder what Elowen is doing at this very moment.
She could not fathom. The day-to-day life of such a mysterious personage was utterly beyond her imagination. Her curiosity so engaged, it was now impossible to ignore. And so the fair Cassidy resolved herself to take a walk and casually seek the other woman out.
Perhaps I'll even stumble across where she lives today. Wouldn't it be exciting to surprise her at her home?
Thinking nothing at all of how inconvenient, how overly forward, and how impertinent it might be, she departed immediately. Once outside, Cassidy took in a deep lungful of crisp forest air.
How lovely it is today. Hardly a cloud in the sky.
She took measured steps into the forest, constantly scanning the area around her, on the lookout for this elusive domicile. Might Elowen live in a cottage like mine? She is so elegant. I cannot imagine her doing housework. Then again, I could hardly imagine myself doing housework not so long ago. Oh, how times change a person. Cassidy reached her beloved wisteria tree before long and eagerly drank in the sight of it. She ran up to the tree and encircled it with her arms as if meaning to embrace it.
Hello, dear tree. You are looking as lovely as ever today. Though a certain someone sits not beneath your boughs this afternoon.
She leaned to one side and then another, looking around the tree and into the forest to see if she might spy a window or the billowing of chimney smoke. Sadly, she could make out only more trees.
I can't suppose that Elowen lives in a tree house, does she?
Certainly not.
Oh!
Surprise! Startled, Cassidy jumped, her foot catching unhappily on one of the tree's roots, sending her flailing forward.
Careful.
Elowen's arm shot out at once, her vice-like grip snaring the once princess just in time. Elowen's touch was so cold, yet her movements decisive. Cassidy's heart raced. Was she truly worried for me? It took Cassidy several moments to regain her composure. Elowen, too, looked a bit shaken.
Thank goodness you arrived when you did. Though, truth be told, if you hadn't startled me so, I would not have fallen.
Is that so? I shall endeavor to be less frightening in the future, then.
Oh dear, she may have mistaken my meaning. I was only trying to cover up my embarrassment. On second thought, was that perhaps a joke?
You look much better with a smile.
As do you. Still, how curious it is for us to be meeting here again.
You come here often? I live nearby. What is curious about it?
I'm merely saying that it is serendipitous. It must be fate.
Fate has nothing to do with it, I assure you.
But it's so much more romantic to think of it as fate.
I can think of nothing less romantic than fate.
Hmm?
Perhaps this is something not yet possible for you to understand.
Don't speak as though you're much older and wiser than me.
Elwyn laughed a little.
How old are you, anyway?
How old do you think?
Cassidy stared at Elwyn, gazing deeply into her eyes, as if she might find the other woman's secrets there.
Older than I first thought, perhaps.
A wise answer.
That is the absolute best answer you can possibly give in this situation. Everyone take notes. Woman asks, how old do you think she is? That's the correct answer. Elwyn tipped her head slightly, the motion seeming to indicate a desire to walk on. Cassidy was only too happy to comply. Together, the women strolled. Their time together was marked by companionable silence. Cassidy, never before a quiet girl, was desperate to fill it, but what conversation might pique Elwyn's interest was unclear. She peered shyly at Elwyn's face in profile, so striking and noble did it seem. She has the air of an aristocrat. What could someone like she be doing living in the forest? Then again, am I not in the same position? Perhaps it's something she finds difficult to speak of. An icy gust of wind whistled through the clearing, causing Cassidy to shiver and rub her bare arms.
The sun will be setting soon, and it will grow colder. Perhaps you should.
It was then that the question Cassidy had been ruminating on over all afternoon burst forward.
Would you like to come to my cottage?
Elwyn appeared quite overcome.
Is that wise?
Whatever do you mean?
How can you extend such an invitation to one such as me, whom you hardly know? You are entirely too trusting.
I'm surprised at you. Two solitary women ought to stick together out in these wilds. Besides, who else have I to invite?
Fair point.
That is, I sometimes feel quite lonely out here. Don't you?
Elwyn turned her head slightly and gazed into the forest behind them, as if peering at something only she could see.
Loneliness, then. I see. Very well. I will take you up on your offer.
Though puzzled by Elwyn's hesitation, Cassidy was overjoyed that her invitation had been accepted. There was a spring in her step as she led the other woman to her home. It was only in front of the cottage that Cassidy suddenly understood what an impetuous thing it was that she was doing. Is the house clean enough? She could not seem to recall when she had last swept or aired out her bedding.
Is this where you live?
Yes.
It's charming.
Well, thank you. I wish I could take more credit for that. The house was here long before I arrived. Even the furniture is not truly my own.
Still, it suits you.
Thank you.
Bolstered by Elwyn's reaction, Cassidy finally gained the courage to follow through. She opened the door wide, gesturing for the other woman to enter. As Elwyn did so with her usual slow, measured steps, Cassidy could not help but notice the other woman's feet, clearly visible in the slippers she wore. Her toes are curled. How odd. They stayed that way even as Elwyn entered the house. Perhaps her manner of walking is not purely for the sake of elegance, but also necessity. Had Elwyn some sort of pain in her feet? Cassidy pondered on this and resolved to ask about it when the opportunity arose. We never did find out about that last time.
It is quite spacious. You live here, alone?
That's right. It's not so bad. I don't have anyone to tell me what to do or where to go. I have a freedom now that I'd never known before.
Perhaps. But sometimes I believe that being tied down to something is easier. If you don't realize you're being strangled, it's just a pleasant, lightheaded feeling.
I don't really understand.
It's alright if you don't.
Elowen walked slowly from one part of the room to the next, her fingertips ghosting over every surface. Sorry, guys. She looked to be seeking the essence of each object, taking in every minute flaw and deciphering its true nature. Cassidy wondered what Elowen might discover about her if only she allowed it. If only she dared. It was unbearably quiet. Just then, Elowen came across the book Cassidy had finished reading.
Oh, that's a book my brother sent to me. I get so frightfully bored here that these books have become my sanctuary. I'm expecting a new shipment soon.
Your brother?
Elowen was silent for a time, digesting that new information. And then her eyes fell on the half-finished letter haphazardly placed next to the book. Cassidy followed her gaze. Eyes wide, she leaped forward to snatch the letter away. How much had the other woman seen? She colored in mortification. Mortification, I know that word.
Your brother is far away from here.
Yes.
Is it beautiful? The place where you once both lived?
I have not once seen its equal.
More beautiful than this cottage prison of yours?
Cassidy could not hide her surprise at Elowen's poisonous choice of words, nor could she hide her sudden tears. She dried her eyes delicately, but with determination. Now was not the time for tears.
Things are complicated. It's not as clear-cut as you seem to believe.
Undoubtedly. The affairs of men oft are. However, all that I need to know is that he is there, and you are here. That he is responsible for that difference can be inferred quite easily.
You are a fast reader to be able to jump to such conclusions so swiftly. I am not unhappy here, Elowen.
I have boosted the voices as loud as they could go.
Can you say that, truly? With an unclouded heart?
Elowen peered into Cassidy's eyes, and their gazes held like two magnets, pulling each other in closer and closer still. Yet Cassidy could not do it. She could not look Elowen in the eye and tell an untruth. Elowen looked to the window.
It has gotten dark.
Oh my! How rude of me. I have not offered you tea or any refreshment.
Do not trouble yourself on my account. I must away. I did not mean to impose for so long.
Oh, you are hardly an imposition.
You are kind. And good.
Cassidy's face lit up.
Kind and good things do not survive long in a world such as ours.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of truth to that. And just as quickly as it had come, the sudden rush of delight left her. Bowing her head, the other woman was out the door and gone, leaving hurt and confusion in her wake. When she looked out the window to glimpse the same view that Elowen had just beheld, what Cassidy saw before her was but a bleak uncertainty. That's a pretty sky view.
Without wisdom or experience, storms shall ill-weathered be. But when you are nearby, dear one, no storms can bother me.
Day 3. It's such a different experience with all the voice acting. It's basically a better experience because you guys don't have to worry about listening to my stupid voice. To my dear Alexander. The exiled princess paused on the very first line of her letter. Is that too familiar? Will he dislike it? The brother of her memory was a kind boy, but rather stiff and particularly mindful of decorum. Following the events of the previous evening, Cassie felt compelled to write her half-finished letter. Still can't save here, so back, save, right here. And there. Not that Alexander will care either way. I'm sure he's too busy to even read my letters through. Still, I want him to know how I spend my days. I feel less alone when I read his letters, and if mine can ease his spirits, then it's a worthwhile endeavor. Somehow, even after rewriting the letter, Cassidy was not confident about its contents. To my dear Alexander, excuse me, I hope that this letter finds you well, dear brother. My days remain unchanged. Every morning I wake up and make myself breakfast and a cup of tea. I greatly enjoyed the tea leaves that you sent last. After breakfast, I read or practice my embroidery. You will perhaps not be surprised to know that my skill with the needle has not much improved. This is a different letter, I think. In the afternoons and evenings, I like to go on walks. Do not worry, I do not stray far from the cottage. I cherish the exercise. Being among the trees in the forest makes me feel at ease. Lately, I find myself something a wisteria tree. So beautiful the tree is. I do not remember seeing many wisteria trees around Varamir. I find myself often visiting a wisteria tree. There we go. Is this interesting enough? She had not talked much of Elowen, not wanting to confuse her brother with tale of a woman he had never met. In fact, upon a quick reread, she realized she had not mentioned Elowen in her letter at all. It's better this way, I think. When Cassidy looked out the window, she realized the sun had started to set.
Oh dear. Was I revising for so long? Silly me.
She folded up her letter and placed it in an envelope, sealing it with the royal wax seal she was given. She stood and stretched her arms above her head.
I have hardly moved all day. That is no good.
Cassie walked to the front of the cottage, where she normally left her letters halfway beneath the door for an agent to collect. She had just stuffed her letter under the door when...
Princess?
Cassidy's blood ran cold for a moment. Yet she soon realized who was addressing her and relaxed.
You surprised me, Elowen.
She spoke to the other woman through the half-open window at the front of the cottage.
I am no princess, you know.
Is that so? You seem like one to me.
Cassidy was not sure how to respond to that sentiment. Have I casually let slip that I was a princess? I did not realize that I still behaved in the manner of one. Lifelong habits cannot so soon be discarded, it seems.
There is an envelope under the door.
Oh, yes. Do leave it there. It's outgoing.
Outgoing?
Elowen paused for a long while, but said no more on the subject.
May I come in?
Oh, of course. I'm so sorry. I should have invited you sooner. I was so taken aback, you see.
I did not mean to surprise you so.
It's all right. A happy surprise. I am so glad to see you.
She opened the door and ushered Elowen inside. This time, Cassidy did not forget her manners. She quickly flew into the kitchen to make her guests some tea and pulled out the crackers she'd set aside for just such an occasion. Elowen politely sipped the tea but did not touch the crackers. There's a healthy glow to Elowen's face. I suppose she has already eaten. She strikes me as the type who would worry about her figure. And it is so late in the day already. Yes, I'm sure she has already supped and can eat no more. Cassidy endeavored not to take offense and instead greedily partook of the crackers herself. That's what you do. When there's free food put in front of you, you eat it. Even if you're the one who put the free food there. That's the rule. The two women talked pleasantries for some time, though it became rather apparent that Elowen's attention lay elsewhere.
Is everything quite all right?
Why do you ask?
You seem somewhat reserved. That is more than usual.
That letter. You said it was outgoing. Is that the letter you wrote your brother?
Oh, yes. If I leave the letters there, someone will come collect it.
Someone? How can that be? You do not go into town to have your mail delivered?
She was at a loss as to how to explain. Cassidy herself knew that her situation was extraordinary.
You see, though I live alone, I am well taken care of. My brother provides everything. Every fortnight or so, his agents deliver food and supplies to me. Someone is around to collect my outgoing letters once or twice a day. I only ever send my brother letters, of course.
I was not wrong when I said this place was like a jail. Why do you live here alone, when he clearly has enough resources to take care of you?
Cassidy shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Elowen's eyes seemed not to look at her so much as bore into her soul. Cassidy felt judged and deemed unworthy, though she had not yet responded to Elowen's inquiry. No matter how she phrased it in her head, it sounded awful.
I am here for my own safety.
She took a deep breath.
When you called me Princess earlier, you were not far off the mark. I once was a princess, though I am no longer. After my father, the king's death, I was to inherit the throne. But our barons in Parliament voted no confidence. Worse, I was then handed trumped charges of treason. I very well could have been executed. Instead, my younger brother intervened on my behalf.
So, you are...
Alive. An exile. But alive.
The former princess surprised herself at the depth of her own feelings, at the desperation with which she tried to convince especially herself that this was for the best.
How can you be so positive?
What?
You speak so fondly of your brother, when he is the one who exiled you, who left you here to rot in isolation.
It's not like that, Elowen.
What part of what I said is false? Tell me.
It's not that simple. It is not Alexander's fault.
She found herself repeating her thoughts on the matter mechanically, things she only half believed. She had said all these things before. It seemed she no more believed them now.
As a result of your dear Alexander's intervention, you were exiled, were you not? Who's to say he was not responsible for the unfavorable vote in the first place?
Why would he do that? What would he have to gain?
The throne?
I know that it seems unfair, but I have come to terms with it. Matters of court are never black and white. I am lucky to have left the castle with my life.
I've previously stated my belief that you are kind and good. I have now revised my opinion. You are a blind fool. As I am mute, you are blind. Altogether too blind to the selfish ways of the world.
Still don't know what she means by that.
What is your meaning?
It is nothing. Believe in your brother all you wish, but you cannot deny that there is a truth to what I've said.
Eowyn rose from her seat in one swift movement and then headed for the door.
Good night, princess.
I am princess no longer. Mock me not, I beg you.
Just like that, she was gone, disappeared into the dark. Cassidy wrapped her arms around her torso, hugging herself for comfort in the wake of Eowyn's sudden, indignant anger. Feeling comfort none, the former princess squeezed her eyes shut. Oh, Eowyn, why?
There is a treasure that can't be bought, no matter how long it may be sought. It is something priceless, yet free. I speak, of course, of an apology.
Day 4. About halfway through this game now. After a restless sleep, Cassidy awoke to the sun's harsh rays. Been there. She stretched, arching her back to release the tension there. Finally, her gaze went to the front door. There was a distinct lack of a letter beneath it. They must have come in the night. How diligent my brother's agents are. You are a blind fool. All at once, the memories of her argument with Eowyn nearly knocked the wind out of her.
I cannot believe I divulged some secrets to someone I barely know.
Cassidy was puzzled, both at herself and at Eowyn's odd behavior. Eowyn appeared so upset. I wonder if she experienced something similar. Perhaps a blind optimism reminded her too much of it. I'm sure she is only worried for me. I seem to inspire that breed of pity in others. I can understand that. I'm afraid I often come off as quite helpless.
I must ask her about her own life. We know so little about each other. It's no wonder she would react that way. One can only draw conclusions based on what one already knows.
Presently, there was a knock on the door. Given how long it had been since her last shipment, as well as the fact that Eowyn was far more likely to announce her presence with her words, Cassidy could draw but one conclusion. She waited nearly 10 minutes before opening the door. It was protocol. She knew not who her brother sent, and it was unclear whether they knew whom they were delivering to. The royal family of Varamir had a distinctive look to them. It would not do for too many people to know who she was, or that a former princess dwelled here. When she finally allowed herself to open the door, she found a large wooden crate, not unlike the previous ones. Sitting atop the crate's contents was a sealed envelope. Cassidy instantly recognized the severe cursive. To my sister, I am glad to hear that you are adjusting well to life at the cottage. Doubtless there are many things that challenge you given your former life, but we must all make the best of things. I know that you have too much time on your hands, so I have been sure to enclose more books for you to read. You may one day be called upon to marry well for the advantage of king and country. As such, it is of the utmost importance that you keep your mind sharp and your hands unidle. That last part seemed to have been written later, as the script looks slightly different. I think of you often. I worry about you more often still. Be safe in the forest and keep to yourself, though I know that is difficult for you. Please await my next letter. I remain your loyal brother. She read over the letter many times, trying her best to glean affection from it.
Alexander has always been a little awkward. I'm sure the last bit was added with some reluctance, after one of his advisors chastised him for the content of his letter.
She smiled and ran her fingertips along the part that read, I think of you often. But then she remembered the sentence about marriage. Could this be the reason he kept me alive? Only to be an advantageous pawn? The thought ate away at her, and Cassidy fought back tears. Her brother had never been so blunt about his intentions before. The letter did not raise her spirits as much as letters from Alexander usually did. The implication of it weighed on her. Of course I must be useful to the kingdom somehow. Why else would I be alive? If I can be of use, even as a disgraced princess. Cassidy sighed. She would not, could not, finish that thought. All of a sudden, Cassidy wanted nothing but to see Elowen again.
I will seek her out. I must.
The other woman's presence would certainly be a salve for her current mood. It was her reasoning, and she swiftly acted upon it. Cassidy set the crate away inside the cottage and then set out. After a long, fruitless walk about the forest, she arrived in front of the wisteria tree.
Elowen.
Princess?
I am no longer a princess.
Just because you no longer live in a castle does not mean that you are no longer a princess.
Yeah, it's her blood. Cassidy was reminded of the word marriage once again. Elowen was right. She was still considered a princess, insofar as a princess could be useful. A long silence passed between them. Both were conscious, no doubt, of the argument that had transpired between them, an argument they had not yet resolved.
I am sorry.
There's the apology. Elowen's eyes widened almost imperceptibly. But Cassidy, staring into the other woman's face as she was, took note.
I should not have burdened you with my circumstances to begin with. But you were only worried for me. I should have been more sensitive in my explanation.
No.
Cassidy was struck by the sight of Elowen's soft smile as she laughed. The former princess's heart fluttered, and her brother's letter was promptly forgotten.
It is nothing. It would seem that I, too, am quite the fool.
The air thusly cleared, the two women were able to enjoy the rest of their day together. They whiled the time away in companionable satisfaction. Companionable, that's a funny word. That night, Cassidy drifted off to sleep with a full heart.
The strings of love are oft unseen. Though wrapped around you, they may be. When tied fast, none can come between, nor challenge humble fate's decree.
Day 5.
How beautiful it is today.
Indeed.
Elowen had surprised Cassidy early that morning, arriving at her front door without warning. Though Elowen didn't even knock, silly creature. I wonder if she would have left if I hadn't seen her and opened the door. The thought bothered her almost as much as the notion that Elwyn might not yearn for Cassidy's company the way Cassidy did for hers. After some time spent lingering, both paralyzed by indecision, they decided to go on a leisurely nature walk. For the next few hours, they strolled through the forest together, stopping here and there to pick berries or mushrooms.
That one is poisonous. Do not touch it.
Right.
Cassidy drew her hand back in mortified alarm.
It would not do for your lovely skin to be marred by poisonous spores.
I feel like that's supposed to be foreshadowing for one of the different endings. Guess maybe we'll find out, maybe we won't. Cassidy hazarded a glance at the other woman's face, but Elwyn looked as unflappable as ever. Poisonous?
Are you certain it's poisonous?
I have no doubt. I've lived in these woods for a long time.
There was a melancholy in Elwyn's countenance that Cassidy had not yet seen, nor even thought the woman capable of. The Elwyn she knew was dignified, taking such charge of her emotions that none ever showed. I have not known her for long, of course. Perhaps that was merely how she comports herself around those of little acquaintance.
What made you decide to reach out to me?
Reach out.
That is...
She thought back to their first meeting, the way her own heart had leapt at the sight of Elwyn. And Elwyn had known all about her, had apparently been watching her for some time.
You didn't have to be sitting under the tree that day. You could have continued watching me from afar. But you found me. You spoke to me.
And I'm so glad she did. But I fear she might call me silly if I say such a thing.
I thought you delicately beautiful.
The matter-of-fact way that Elwyn said this struck Cassidy. She was flattered, of course, yet part of her was also worried. Beauty was not something lasting. It would be a shaky foundation for any relationship. If it had been a courtier complimenting her beauty, Cassidy might have taken it better. But this was Elwyn, a woman of whom she was becoming increasingly fond.
Thought? That's past tense, is it not? What do you think of me now?
I still think you exceedingly beautiful. But dainty and delicate you are not. You are far from being the poised princess I took you for.
Cassidy winced and her mouth formed a little pout as she turned her eyes to the ground. As I thought. It is to be expected. Someone so graceful as Elwyn would, of course, find me lacking.
You are not what I expected, but I believe that might be for the better.
Slowly, Cassidy tilted her face up, her eyes growing large with disbelief.
For the better?
You are always exceeding my expectations. I wonder if the other people I allowed to come and go would have as well, had I let them so near.
Well, it may be selfish of me, but I'm truly happy you let the others go. I'm glad that I'm the only person you allowed close.
Aw.
I'm sorry, that makes me sound so ugly.
I don't think so.
No. No uglier than I.
Suddenly, in Cassidy's eyes, Elwyn looked so very haggard. She peered through the polished veneer and saw a woman who was tired and hungry. Yeah, it definitely looks a little different.
Are you alright?
And now she's fine. In a blink, Elwyn appeared to be the same as always.
I am fine.
Even so, Cassidy could not shake the feeling that something was off.
Are you quite sure? You seem tired.
Elowen was silent for a long while.
Yes. Perhaps. Perhaps I am tired. Forgive me. I am not used to the midday sun.
It occurred to Cassidy then that she had never seen Elowen in the morning before. Could she be something of a night owl? I hadn't supposed it. And here I invited her to walk with me underneath the full blaze of the sun. How thoughtless I am.
Elowen,
Yes?
why don't you stay with me at my cottage tonight?
What?
Well, I am worried about you. And it can't be easy, being a woman and living alone.
She knew this best of all.
I would be much more at ease if you would come with me tonight. Let us break bread together and while away the night in comfort.
She was not expecting Elowen to accept. Not Elowen, who had reacted so strongly to an invitation merely a few days earlier. And yet...
All right.
Really?
Would it be better if I returned to my home?
No. I was just worried that you would not accept. I realize that's not very dainty to be so forward.
At this, Elowen finally smiled. Cassie's heart felt akin to an acrobat at the sight, doing backflips and pirouettes in joy.
It would be my honor to accompany you. It may do us both some good.
As ever, Cassidy was far too excited to hear the latter. Looking forward to a night with her new favorite person, she had already changed course and started along the path home. Cassidy closed the front door behind them and went to the kitchen to put away the plants they had gathered.
Is there anything I can help with?
Oh, leave it to me. Just have a seat and rest. You really do look tired.
All right.
While she put her affairs in order in the kitchen, Cassidy couldn't help but think back to the things Elowen had said. She said that she likes me the way that I am. That's so kind. She felt a deep sense of warmth and satisfaction, the likes of which she had not felt in a long time. Cassidy returned to the living room a short while later, 2 cups of tea in hand.
Oh!
She found Elowen asleep, slumped on the divan. Poor thing! She must have been exhausted. There was a loose strand of hair in front of Elowen's face. Cassidy reached down and tucked behind her ear. She looks so innocent when she's asleep. Chuckling to herself, Cassidy let Elowen rest and passed some quiet time reading by the other woman's side. Night soon fell, and the pair supped together. Elowen doesn't eat very much. No wonder she's so thin. Elowen, unaware of being observed so directly, delicately sipped a glass of water.
Are you full?
I am satisfied.
Oh, you eat so little. I'm worried for your health.
Her tone left no room for argument. After dinner, Cassidy cleared the plates and things away and began to get the room ready for sleep. The cottage was not large. Her parlor had to double as her bedroom out of necessity. It was all well and good for a single person, but now that another had been added, Cassidy became acutely aware of the lack of space.
There's only one bed.
I do not mind sleeping on the divan. I already did earlier.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm sorry that I didn't wake you up. You just looked so at peace. I could not bear to wake you.
I'm embarrassed to have allowed you to see me in such a state. I only fear... No, it is nothing. I will gladly sleep on the divan or the ground. I am not choosy.
I guess it's pronounced divan.
Oh, that won't do at all. You're a guest.
Cassidy gulped. Truth be told, she had one other, much more preferable arrangement in mind.
We could share the bed. There's room enough for two.
I notice you do not offer to sleep on the divan.
Yep. That didn't come up. Struck by her own lack of graciousness, Cassidy bit her lip, cowed into silence.
I am only teasing. If you do not mind being so snug, I will be happy to share the space with you.
Nothing would please me more than to be close to you. I mean... Yes, wonderful! I shall fetch another pillow then.
Good save, Cassidy, good save. Doesn't suspect a thing. She flew out of the room to retrieve a spare pillow from the closet, face burning with embarrassment.
Do you have enough space? You're not too cramped.
They're so cute together.
I am fine. Truth be told, I do not mind the proximity.
There was a faraway look in Elowen's eyes.
I'd been alone for so long. Until you came.
How did you come to live here in the forest? Where is your family?
Oh. Perhaps it's not that she does not wish to tell me, but that she cannot. She may have some circumstances that prevent her from speaking on the subject. Was it impertinent of me to bring it up?
I'm sorry. Is it difficult for you to tell me?
It is a trying subject. I'm not quite sure where to begin.
She took a deep breath.
I have lived here all my life. Once I was not alone, but...
Elowen paused and sighed.
You remember the wisteria tree?
Of course! That's my favorite place in the entire forest.
Have you noticed that there are no other wisteria trees around it?
Now that you mention it...
She never had thought about it, but as Cassidy searched her memories, she realized that Elowen was correct.
You're right. I wonder why that is.
There is an even older wisteria tree deep in the forest. But now those are the only two left, and they are so far from each other. So it is with me.
Cassidy found her choice of words puzzling, but nodded.
I once had siblings. They have long since departed, so I don't really have family here anymore. Others have come and gone, as I said, but I could not relate to them. I watched them from afar without entering their lives, and did not mourn them when they left mine. And so, the years went by.
You'll never be alone again.
Elowen's eyes widened. Cassidy thought she might start crying, but she only smiled sadly.
I see.
Cassidy snuggled just a little bit closer to the other woman, as if to show meaning through actions where words might fail. And so they passed the night together, in pleasant company and warm conversation.
When the sunshine blazes down, I soon begin to wish for rain. But when you've gone away, my dear, I soon long for the sun again.
Day 6. Okay, we're almost to one of the endings. Cassidy awoke alone with a cold space beside her. I hope she's all right.
Still, what a wonderful night that was.
Each precious memory had been carved into Cassidy's heart. She yawned and slowly pulled herself out of bed. With or without Elowen, she would have to get on with her day. That's a pretty tune. Cassidy hummed a little tune to herself as she cleaned up and prepared breakfast. Sitting down at the table with her bread and morning tea, she glanced at her stationery set, left by the vase. A lot has happened. Perhaps I should write Alexander a letter? She shook her head.
That can wait. I'm more worried about what Elowen is up to now.
Though always lonesome before, the former princess's life now felt so much emptier without Elowen's presence. Though she could be accustomed to such solitude, she could barely concentrate on her usual chores.
To think that a few days could change a person so.
In a lull in her activities, Cassidy's gaze went to the window. Deep in the forest, her beloved wisteria tree stood. She could see it so clearly in her mind's eye.
Elowen is very much like that tree. She said as much herself. So beautiful and haunting. And alone.
The other woman's words from the night before weighed heavily on Cassidy. She passed the rest of the day peacefully, but with a sense of unease. The next day came and still no Elowen. Cassidy was left with nothing but her own thoughts. And thinking of Elowen perturbed Cassidy greatly. In the last several days, the woman had embedded herself into Cassidy's life like a thorn.
I never expected to become close to another person again.
She thought about Elowen and the things the other woman had said, the hours spent together that were so few but felt an impossible eternity.
I never did ask her about her feet. Why are her toes always curled?
That's something I'd like to know.
Despite how she looks, she must be much older than me. She has a proper way of speaking, and always says she's lived in the forest a long time. And with the intricacy of her clothing, and her manners.
Something did not quite add up. Elowen did not seem to like people much. Certainly it did not seem her presence in the wood, despite how long it had been, was known to many. Alexander most probably would not have sent me here if it was known that a beautiful woman was living alone in this very wood. Where did Elowen come from? Why was she alone? She still had no satisfactory answer. Thinking it over, she is rather strange. Then again, there is nothing normal about my situation either. This only means that I have more things to discover about her in the future. Cassidy shook her head. Even if Elowen was a tad strange, Cassidy knew there was much more to her than that. Wasn't there?
She is capable of joking, though she does not do it often. Her smile is so precious. She can be blunt, perhaps.
Blunt.
But
It's
I
a funny
believe
word.
she means well. I care deeply
Remembering the last several days. Remembering the last several days. Holy cow, we got more options! We got more options! Wow! Presently, there was a knock at the door, startling Cassidy out of her deep thoughts. It was a short knock, a signal for a letter not accompanying a box.
A letter? So soon after the last?
Okay, from here on out, I'm in uncharted territory. I did not get this on Tuesday. The letter brought another thought to Cassidy. If I leave here, if one day Alexander allows me to leave, what else awaits me? To marry a man.
When he knows full well that I cannot bear to do that.
The lid on the box of her memories slowly opened. Once upon a time in the kingdom of Varamir, a pair of twins was born. It was a fortuitous event. The sister, being the elder, was marked for queenhood. All expected bitterness and resentment from her younger twin, but there was no such thing. Alexander absolutely adored Cassidy. They spent almost all of their time together. The only others Cassidy spent with her days with were her beloved handmaidens, handpicked from noble families to serve her. As Cassidy grew, it became more and more apparent that she could not lead. She had little interest in politics. She much preferred socializing, spending her carefree days with her bosom friends. She and Alexander made a pact that when she became queen, he would rule as regent. She could not abdicate without making the kingdom appear weak, but she would defer to him in all matters. The promise was made. To prepare for the day he would become regent, Alexander went abroad to study, begging the king and queen to allow him to go. It was begrudgingly accepted. Though he was gone but a few months, it was hard on his sister. She wrote him letters daily, and he was more than happy to return those gestures in kind. Yet, as time went on, she wrote to him less and less. She was finding solace in her handmaidens, he thought. All was well. During a holiday, Alexander returned to the castle for a surprise visit. He missed his sister too much. Surely she, too, had longed to see him. Imagine his surprise. Indeed, his utter horror, when that doting brother discovered his beloved older sister in bed with another woman. The handmaiden was banished. He would not speak of this to another for his sister's reputation, for his own reputation. "You were lonely, weren't you?" he asked. "Yes, so unbearably lonely, and she was so sweet to me." He canceled his studies abroad at once. They were again every day together. Guy's a little loony. Still, his sister's inclinations could not be ignored. A coy glance at a maiden here, a lingering touch there. He could not spend every minute with her as much as he wanted to. And as their parents talked of strategic marriages, of the twins' duties, Alexander was overcome with dread. Me, marry, when my older sister might steal my bride away? More than that, it was unbearable to think of her married to some man, a man who would be king. In the meantime, more handmaids were quietly banished. And just when Alexander thought he might go completely mad, the unthinkable occurred. The twins' father, the king, dropped dead in the middle of dinner. She would become queen, this sinful older sister. It was not her fault. Other women were drawn to her like moths to a flame, and she had a deep loneliness that could not be satisfied with anything but constant contact. She loved everyone but him, and she would be queen. It was with great surprise that Cassidy went before the Parliament of Barons. Their decision was swift and decisive and cruel, a vote of no confidence. Why? Princess Cassidy of Varamir, you stand accused of immoral acts." Her blood ran cold as her charges were detailed. Alexander had not spoken a word of it. Of that she was sure. He had promised. Yet, with every handmaiden forced out, gossip followed. The young prince, so salacious and hot-blooded, everyone just knew what was going on. To become pregnant out of wedlock, what scandal! No one ever knew that not a single one of the maidens was ever with child. Every one of them was sent to the court countryside for a period of confinement that would never end. No one but they, too, knew the real truth. Then how? Do you deny it? Can you possibly deny it? A word, gentlemen. All eyes were on the prince. Surely he, so personally affected by the rumors, would want her gone most of all. The punishment for what she stood accused of was death. Yet it was not death that the prince suggested. Exile, in a forest far from the castle. She did not know better, had been corrupted by outside forces. They could not be so callous as to sentence a young girl to a cruel death. The barons were troubled. But the words from he who would be king were powerful. His older sister had not inherited all of the charisma and charm. And so it was decided. And Cassidy wept grateful tears. Her beloved brother, he who had all the reason in the world to blame and despise her, he'd saved her life. Cassidy, of course, knew not of her brother's true thoughts and intentions, but that is no reason for you to remain ignorant of the full truth.
Is a political marriage truly my only means of escape?
If I could be useful to the kingdom in any way, is that better? Will my life no longer be considered a waste? Alexander, did you ever truly love me? Is the precious younger brother that I once knew completely gone? Are you truly the one who has been writing me these letters? One negative thought spiraled into a dozen. She let out a long sigh. Her thoughts had taken her on a not-so-merry chase.
If I dwell on these thoughts, there will be no end to them.
She brewed herself a cup of tea to calm her nerves and began reading a new book. From time to time, her eyes went somewhat nervously to the window. And so, evening fell.
Oh!
Did she forget to grab the letter? Cassidy awoke suddenly from an impromptu nap. She frowned at the book in her lap, still open to the boring page she had left off on.
I can hardly recall what the book is about. How unlike me.
You guys ever do that where you have a book and you read for a few pages and then at some point you realize you don't actually remember what you read? Happens to me way more often than I care to admit. Yet she knew the reason. She was still distracted by thoughts of Elowen.
It's evening now. I wonder, if I go into the forest now, might I...
The front door suddenly burst open.
Please, pardon my intrusion. An army is approaching. I do not like the look of them, and I fear for your safety.
Despite her strange appearance, Cassidy knew it was Elowen immediately. Those piercing golden eyes, that long hair. She was alarmed, yes, confused, but the concern that was clear on Elowen's face overtook any other questions she might have. She looks different, but that is her. Those eyes, there must be some real danger. Surely there's some reason for the way she looks. I'm certain she'll tell me, but for now...
All right.
She accepted that look pretty quickly, huh?
We...
Yes. You are with me. Are you not?
You... believe what I say.
I do. I trust you wholeheartedly.
Do you?
Elowen's breath seemed to hitch, most probably from the fear she felt. That nervousness permeated her entire being. Cassidy noticed this, and having noticed, there was no way that Cassidy could fear Elowen, no matter how she appeared.
Do you love me?
It was not the response Cassidy expected. But deep down, she knew that this was no time to hesitate, to demur. Cassidy looked Elowen straight in the eye.
Yes. I love you.
It was important that Elowen know that.
I see.
Oh, wow! Back to normal. I wasn't expecting that. And so the frog has turned back into a dashing prince? Cassidy smiled warmly.
Now will you finally tell me what is going on?
Oh, the army.
No, not that. About you.
Yes. You deserve an explanation.
Run now. Talk later.
I was, until but a few days ago, a wisteria tree. The same one you often visited. I have lived in this forest for hundreds of years, mostly alone. At some point, I developed a spirit. I was able to observe the beings that passed through my life. Many humans came and went. I was lonely, but I was all right with the way things were. I was a tree. They were not. I was not to interfere in their lives.
What changed?
You and your silly ranting, your singing, awkward couplets. That sad look you got in your eyes as you gazed at the horizon. I was smitten.
Weren't we all?
Even after you realized that I wasn't so dainty as you believed?
I can't turn up the volume of the voices, guys. Sorry.
Yes. Perhaps I came to love you even more for all your flaws. Though I do not see them as such. I had to speak with you. I had to become human and be with you. I was consumed by that wish. And then one night, a little voice whispered to me, "Will you strike a bargain with me? If you fulfill the conditions, you can become human."
One of those bad endings makes sense now.
Who was it that whispered to you?
I'm not sure. A god, perhaps, or a demon. It mattered not. I took the bargain. I was given 7 days. In 7 days, if you fell in love with me, I would become like you. But in that time, I was neither tree nor human. I was not given human emotions. My human-like legs caused me great pain. With each step, it felt as if I was treading upon knife points.
That would explain the toes.
And every morning, I needed to take in the purest of sunlight to survive.
Ah, that's why I never saw you in the morning.
Yes,
Cassidy was tempted to ask Elowen for more, especially about the other side of the bargain. What would have happened had Elowen failed? But there was something in the way Elowen skirted that topic that told Cassidy not to ask. Perhaps it was better that she not hear. One day when Elowen is ready, no doubt she will tell all to me. But there is something else still to consider now.
Oh, you said that there's an army marching.
yes. The morning after I spent the night with you.
Giggity. Suddenly, Cassidy too was embarrassed.
That morning, As I was leaving, I noticed a man crouched outside your cottage looking in.
Ah, must have been one of my brother's agents. My brother has full reason to suspect me of something untoward.
I see. That man may have alerted your brother.
And now he's sending Reginald here to collect me. Oh dear.
You do wish to return home, do you not?
At this point, no. Cassidy laughed in self-derision.
Had you asked me that a week ago, I undoubtedly would have said yes. However, I cannot return to Veromir. There is no other one here. Alexander never allowed me to come. Here we never meet again.
Cassidy.
It was the first time Elowen had said her name. Cassidy did not let that escape her notice. First time I noticed.
I will not go, Elowen. I do not want to be without you.
Elowen nodded.
All right. There is only one thing we can do.
She explained her plan to Cassidy, who accepted it, with a few adjustments. The soldiers arrived the next day to a frightful scene. In front of the house, Cassidy laid sprawled on the ground. There was blood everywhere, a knife protruding from her abdomen. Excuse me? A group of soldiers inspected the body, leaning in for a closer look.
What is the meaning of this? The princess is dead. No doubt oft by the lover we heard about.
Excuse me?
The harlot deserved no better. Still, I do not envy the man who tells King Alexander the news.
They proceeded to argue over whether or not to bury the body, ultimately deciding that it was well above any of their pay grades. Once their investigation was complete, they left the place. Cassidy inhaled the biggest gulp of air of her life.
That was close. I thought my heart would stop.
She heard Elowen laugh from nearby.
It's not funny. I never dreamed they would get so close.
Still, it's good that they did. Now there can be no doubt in their minds that you were deceased.
Okay. Well done, pretend.
The only question is, what shall we do if they come back?
Yay?
That is precisely why we must now enact phase 2 of my plan.
Your plan?
Come now, let's not split hairs. Phase 2 is entirely my idea.
Of course, yes, I have not heard of it.
Phase 2? We go on a trip!
The KK! That sounds nice. Let's do that.
A trip?
Yes! You have never been anywhere but this forest, correct?
Well, that is true.
Wouldn't you like to see the world with me?
That sounds nice.
And once we've had our fill, we can return here. I'm sure after enough time has gone by, they will be fully convinced of my death. There will be no reason for my brother's agents to return, and we can live here in peace.
Yes. Yes. I must say that sounds absolutely lovely.
Cassidy took Elowen's hand in hers.
Elowen, you know, all my life, I only did as my parents wanted, and as Alexander wanted. I had resolved myself to being trapped forever. Yet now I am able to do as I wish. It is all thanks to you.
You are mistaken. If not for you, I would still be a tree. It is I who must thank you.
If we can argue about who is more grateful to have met whom, I believe we are happy indeed.
That's a beautiful way of putting it.
Yes. Yes, you are right, my dear.
I would consider this the best ending, according to the guide, so. So the two ladies set out on a grand adventure. They journeyed to distant lands and saw many new things, met many new people. It was the trip of a lifetime. And once they found themselves sated of the world and their travels were through.
Are you quite sure that the recipe calls for these small peppers? I do not recall such a thing.
That's cute.
I am sure, my love.
Look.
You can make as many adorable noises as you want. I shall not relent. One day you will have to get used to eating dishes with some spice. And no saying, only a kiss from you can relieve my sore tongue either.
Oh, that's a good one. Write that down. Write that down.
I would never.
Though she was quite sure that she had. At least once or twice. Perhaps the two of them are still there now. Living happily ever after.
Though we may journey many miles, I know well where my true home lies. By your side, where I remain, to watch with you every sunrise.
Adorable. Truly free. End. We got the best ending. Whew, and I'm just gonna say good enough. There is one more good ending, I think, if I understand the guide correctly. There's one more good ending and 4 more bad endings. So, I've shown off 3 endings out of 8. There's still a lot for you guys to find on your own. I say you gotta get this game and play it for yourself. We still have yet to see Alexander himself. I assume that's him in the art there. Yeah. Very interesting game. I like it a lot better with the voices, and I don't know why there were no voices on Tuesday. It was weird. But they're here now, so yay. Well, that'll bring this stream to an end. Without a Voice, out now on PC and consoles. Go get it. Thank you to Andrea, and for the first time, Death Reeker for being here in the chat. Shout out to the lurkers, and shout out to everyone watching on YouTube afterwards. I'll be back Sunday, where I will be continuing, and hopefully this time for real, concluding my playthrough of Starlight Legacy. Hope to see you all then. On behalf of East Asia Soft, I have been Skull. Have yourselves a great day and a great weekend, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.